Hey guys, on today's show, this is part 3 of our 3-part series on my top picks for ham radios. Today's topic will be my top picks for base station ham radios right here, right now on Ham Radio for Non-Techies. First, I want to welcome you guys back. I'm glad you came. If you've seen the other two videos, the first one was on my top HTs. And the second video was on my top mobile rig units. So today we're going to discuss the base stations that I've chosen. And I want to put a caveat in here. So this applies to all 3 of these videos that I've produced so far. My word's not final on these things. It's not like it's law. You need to really do your research and figure out what's going to work best for you. Find out. I mean, I'm giving you suggestions based upon what I've heard around the community, from questions that I've asked other ham operators, just a general consensus on what people like and what people are using for ham radios. So with that being said, there are a lot of things you guys need to consider when you're buying a ham radio. There's lots of accessories involved with the base stations, including antennas, power supplies, antenna tuners. I mean, a lot of these have built-in antenna tuners, but sometimes you're going to want to have an external antenna tuner that might do a little bit more than the one that's built into your radio. You have options for SWR meters. If you're building your own antennas, you might get your own antenna analyzer possibly. So there's a lot of things you have to consider. You don't want to just jump in. It's not something you just jump in and just go buy a kit and go, this is what I'm going to get. So what I've compiled here is my top picks and a few accessories. And I'll go through some of these things that I actually have and, tell you my opinions on these things. But again, you're going to have to figure out, A, what it is you want to do in ham radio, how much radio you want to buy, what features on that radio you want. Now, from my own personal experience, the radio that I chose, I wanted an all-in-one, what they call a shack in the box. And that basically means it does everything. So the first radio we're going to discuss does both HF, UHF, and VHF, has a lot of different features packed into one unit. And I found it to be the most bang for the buck for my purposes and my budget. There are other ones out here. A lot of these are going to be strictly for HF. They're not going to include the VHF, UHF bands. So for that, you might want to consider the one that I chose if you want to continue using VHF, UHF. But if you want to go strictly HF, then a lot of these other units are going to probably be great for you. So keep that and stuff in mind. When you call up these places, like say you consider calling up Ham Radio Outlet or Gigaparts, one of those places there, talk to them. Ask them what, tell them what you're trying to do. Tell them what it is you're looking to do in radio and see what they suggest. You can throw out a couple of suggestions here and get their opinions on it. I would implore you to get as many opinions from people. If you have a local club, talk to people in your local ham radio club and find out what it is people like and what people are using. I'm going based strictly upon what I've researched and what I know about. And the main radio I know about is the one I actually have, obviously. But I've heard these other radios we're going to discuss be talked about by a lot of people with a lot of good reviews. And some are just, tried and true, good old-fashioned, stable radios. So without further ado, let's pop over to my desktop and take a look. Okay, so if you go on to my kit.co website, and that's kit.co/KI5NPL, you will get to see the different picks of radios that I've chosen. I've got the different radios. I got power supplies, antenna tuners, accessories, and a couple antenna options. I didn't really want to go really deep into the antennas, only because antennas are a personalized thing. You want to get what you can successfully use in your area. If you live in an HOA, you're going to have to consider some other things to kind of camouflage or hide your antenna so it's not as obvious you're using one, depending on what frequencies you're trying to get on. So I'm bringing you a couple options here because I do live in an HOA myself. Fortunately, they're not really hell-bent on sticking their nose in my personal business at all times. Plus, I'm in a cul-de-sac, so it helps out a little bit. I have more places to hide stuff. So you're going to have to figure out what your situation is for that particular thing and go with that. So let's go and start the presentation here and get this rolling. So again, these are my top picks for ham radio base stations and a few accessories to go with it. My first one is the one that I chose, which is the Yaesu FT991 Alpha. It's an all-band transceiver, or what they call a true shack-in-a-box. It does everything from 160 meters down to 70 centimeters, which means everything, all your HF, VHF, and UHF channels. It also has single sideband CW, FM, C4 FM, and digital, and it does also AM. It's a 100-watt receiver. It does 50 watts on 2 meter and 70 centimeter. It has a 3.5-inch color touchscreen, which I absolutely enjoy. It's a fantastic, I mean, as small as it is, I mean, it's still, you know, it's decent size, but it's easy to use. It's responsive. It's kind of like all the other Yaesu products have touchscreens. I've been very impressed with it, and I don't think I'd go back to anything else. I mean, I might upgrade to something else different if I just want to strictly go to HF. But this one does everything I want it to do, and you know, it's got a multicolor waterfall display, nice clear audio. The audio on this thing is actually pretty fantastic. They do sell external speakers you can plug into these, but I have not found a reason to get one, because where I am, where I've got my station set up, it's nice and quiet. I don't have to worry about a whole lot going on around me as far as noise or you know, contaminated noise. And the audio I'm getting from this thing with the mixture of antennas that I'm using has been fantastic. Now, of course, you can also go out and get the optional external speaker if you want to get one. Nothing wrong with that. They're running between $100 and $300 depending on what model you get and what, you know, features it has, and of course the quality of the build. It does have a 160 to 6 meter auto antenna tuner built in. However, I just ordered a new antenna tuner yesterday, an external one, to handle pretty much everything I want to do. So I'll talk about that shortly. It has a built-in electronic keyer for if you're doing CW, automatic repeater shift, and dual antenna connectors. So on the back end, it has connectors for both SO239. It has connectors on the back end that'll do both HF, and then you have a second one for VHF, UHF. The approximate size of this thing is actually a little smaller than I expected. I was hoping it'd be a little bit bigger because I wanted like a big, massive base station. But this thing's actually 9 inches by 3.2 inches by 9.3 inches and weighing just about under 10 pounds. It does come with Yaesu's 3-year warranty. And the only caveat with this is the one thing I did not check on before I did it. It is not made for using as a Wires X node with the HRI 200 Wires X node adapter. So you want to keep that in mind. If you want to do Wires X, you might want to, you know, if you're going to do a Wires X node, you might want to consider one of their other radios that'll handle that, which is most likely going to be one of the mobile units that you can use for Wires X. So that is the Yaesu FT991 Alpha. Great radio. I think they're on sale right now. They're really hard to get. And this is something else you got to consider. A lot of these radios might be out of stock right now. The semiconductor fire that happened last year really screwed up the industry for anything that requires specialized electronics. So I had mine sent back because I had an issue. I had it sent back to HRO. It took about 2 months to get another one back here. So keep that stuff in mind. If you're going to find a radio, you might be waiting a little while. I know they're talking about shipping some stuff out somewhere around June or July. So if you order it now, get it if it's on sale, and you save that extra couple $100 on it, you'll have to wait a little while to get it, or search someplace else that might have one. So keep that stuff in mind. The shortage of radios right now because of that issue last year is going to delay things for you just a little bit. Let's move on to the next radio. The next one is one of the most popular of the radios that I've seen and heard about. Everybody talks about these things and get great reviews. They're fantastic radios. That's the ICOM IC7300. It is a 4.3-inch color touchscreen, a little bit bigger this time. 100 watts output and 25 watts on AM. It does come with a spectrum scope, a waterfall display, and an audio scope. And it has a magnify pop-up function where you can click something, I guess, as a magnify feature where it'll magnify a certain spot so you can see something a little more detailed. It has 101 memory channels, and the frequency range is from 0.030 to 74.8. This is what I was telling you about when I was saying there's some of these radios out there that only do HF. This one does not do VHF and UHF. So you have to keep that in mind. If you really just want to do high HF radio, this is probably a great radio for you to get. A lot of people use these. They use them out in the field. They use them as base stations. They're very versatile and very reliable radios. This one also does feature a built-in antenna tuner, although I could not get the specs on what the range of frequencies it'll tune for. This does come with an SD card slot for saving data or recording things. It has a cooling fan system, as most radios do. It comes with CW functions, and it functions on single sideband CW, RTTY, AM and FM modes. The approximate size of this radio is 9.4 inches by 3.7 inches by 9.4 inches again, and weighs in just under 10 pounds at 9.3 pounds. Again, these guys, of all the people I've watched, there's other channels I view online, just talk to people, listen to people chat in my group. This is one of the top selling radios. But you know, it mainly is for people who want to just do HF. If you want to do VHF, UHF, you're better off with a Yaesu. So this is another option for you. I'm not sure what the pricing is. I don't think they were too bad on the pricing. It might be around $1,000, maybe a little under, a little over. But they're just good, reliable radios that you should keep in consideration. Moving on to the next radio, we're now back into the Yaesu again. This is a Yaesu FT-DX 3000D. This is mainly an HF contest radio. If you're going to go in to do contesting and stuff, this is a radio a lot of people would go and get and utilize. It has it goes from 160 meters down to 6 meters on single sideband, CW, FM, AM, and digital. Again, this is an HF only radio. It does not do VHF, UHF. This is a much larger unit, coming in at 14.4 inches by 4.5 inches tall by 12.3 inches deep, and weighs about 22 pounds. Considering from the other ones we looked at earlier, this one's a little bit bigger and a little bit heavier. This one also does our RTTY PSK31 encode and decode is included. It is a 100-watt power system. It has a built-in tuner with 100-channel memory. It has what's Yaesu's known for. They have these really nice, on my 991 Alpha, the main knob for turning and tuning in is really nice, really thick, solid metal, like it's machined. Very nice tuning knob for that. It has USB input for firmware updates. It has a 4.3-inch full-color non-touch screen. This is the only Yaesu one here I've found so far does not have a non-touch screen. Low noise floor, excellent signal-to-noise ratio with this one. It has a 3-step IPO setting for best gain signal reception, high-quality audio output. So the speaker on this, if it's anything like the 991, the audio coming out of this should be absolutely fantastic. And again, you could probably go ahead and get an external speaker to hook into this if you so choose to do so. It has 3 antenna connectors on the back, and it's made for those who love CW. Not exclusively, but if you like doing CW and like doing Morse code, this thing is really built for that type of operation. This one runs a little bit more. I forgot what the actual pricing is. We can always check, or you can just check on the links. But this is something else. It's a really good, tried and true radio. A lot of people have them that like them, and I think it's got a lot of versatility to it. It's got a lot of functions in here that you can utilize and grow into over time. But again, that's something you have to decide upon as far as what your path in ham radio is going to be. Let's move on to the next radio. The next one is the tried and true. This is the one I was saying that was, it's been around for a while. It's a great radio. This is the Kenwood TS590SG. Again, this is also 160 down to 6 meter operation on CW, AM, SSB, FM, and FSK. It does require a 20 amp, 13.8 volt power supply. And the dimensions on this one are 10.6 inches by 3.78 by 13.2 and weighing in just around 16.3 pounds. The maximum output is 100 watts and the minimum output is 5 watts. It has 2 antenna connectors on the back, a built-in antenna tuner, and as I said, this is a tried and true system. It does not have a lot of bells and whistles like some of the other ones we had. There's no big color touch screen. There's no big color screen at all. But it does have a nice wide monochrome type of screen where you can adjust the contrast to make it so it's more visible in higher light areas or lower light areas. And I think this would be a great radio for anybody looking to get into something that's just been around for a while and has been a proven winner for ham radio operators. Okay, moving on here. The last one, I believe this is the last one. Yep, this is the last one. The last one here is the ICOM IC7100 mobile radio and base station. Now, if you remember in the last video, we talked about mobile units. This was one of my picks of the mobile units, and I said in that video that I'd be referring to this in the base stations as well, because a lot of people use this as a base station or to go out and use it as a mobile outside of the house, not necessarily attached to your vehicle, but bring it out to a park, doing parks in the air, bring it up to do it summits on the air, or whatever, and hooking up a battery supply and whatever else you need, antennas, and running it outdoors. And it's a very, very highly recommended radio for that. The dimensions on the base unit for this one, again, are 6.5 inches by 2.3 by 8.8. The RF unit, which is the actual head unit here, is 6.5 by 2.5 by 3 and up to 100 watts on this unit. It does require a 13.8 volt, 22 amp power supply. It comes with 505 memory channels and 700 D-Star memory channels. It has 2 antenna connectors that are both SO239, one for HF and one for VHF, or VHF, UHF, sorry, and can be used as a base unit or mobile unit. Monocolor touchscreen, so it is still touchscreen, even though it's not a full color display, but it's got a nice size screen on it. So if you have, you know, vision problems, something like that, just be a great radio. Those numbers be right in your face there. The controller, as you can see, is a slant top controller and detaches from the main body, or actually doesn't detach. It doesn't attach at all. It has a cable that connects with it that takes care of that. It does come with an SD card slot and a voice recording and playback. As I said, if you're using it in your car, it does require more of a custom installation vehicle to transmit. And then you see here all of the different channels that it will transmit on. Again, this one does everything from the lowest or from the highest high frequency channels down to VHF, UHF. So this is another true shack in the box. Again, doesn't have as many bells and whistles on it as, say, the Yaesu 991, but this is a very portable radio that will make your life very, very easy and will serve you for a long time. This is a fantastic radio to get. So if you're on the market for it, I don't think these things are actually that expensive. These are actually, I think, if I was correct, I think they're just around $1,000, maybe a little bit under. You got to just look around and see. But if you're on the market for a radio like this, definitely consider this as one of your options. Moving on here, this goes into the accessories now. Now, I talked about this a little bit briefly at the beginning of the video here, but I wanted to make sure that we are all on the same page. So antennas. Do you have the space and ability to put up an antenna where you live? If you don't live in an HOA, great. You can put up anything you want. You have a plethora of choices for antennas to use with all these different units that I showed you. So you have to decide on that first. If you have to deal with an HOA, how can you put up an antenna to operate on the bands you want to operate on and still hide the thing, or maybe, you know, put it up when you're using it and take it down when you're not? That can be a little monotonous sometimes. So I've got a couple solutions here that I think will help you out. You know, another thing, do you want an antenna that might be portable, like the one I'm going to show you shortly? How about an all-in-one solution? I don't really want to have, this is my own personal opinion, everybody's going to be different. I don't necessarily need an antenna farm in my backyard. So I try to buy antennas that will, you know, minimize the amount that I have to get on the frequencies I want to get onto. So I'll show you those in a little bit. Moving on to antenna tuners, you know, do you need one? It's not a bad idea to have an antenna tuner if the built-in one can't handle the antenna or can't handle the frequencies you're trying to tune to. So, you know, that's the reason why I bought an antenna tuner yesterday. It should be here in a couple of days. I'll let you know about that when I get it. Power supplies, you know, there are a ton of power supplies to choose from, and there's a lot of options for choosing a power supply. But ultimately, you're going to have to research the best power supply for your specific radio. You can buy, you know, something that's got a lot of power that can use on multiple radios, which would probably be my suggestion. But down the road, eventually, depending on how far into this you get, you're going to end up buying a couple radios. You're going to end up buying a couple power supplies. You're going to have a couple of antennas. I know you're probably shaking your head right now saying, no, I'm not going to do that. Yeah, sure. I had the same issue when I bought my radio. I was like, I'm just going to get this one handheld. And now I've got 3 handhelds and a mobile and a base station and antennas everywhere. So it happens. It's, you know, ham radio, you buy your HT, it's kind of like the gateway drug to getting your next radio here. Moving on, we have SWR meters. If you need to measure SWR, if you're building your own antennas or making your own coax cables, these are things considered. It's not, again, it's not a necessity, but it's also a nice addition to have to your ham equipment. Accessory cables for connecting radios and programming. A lot of these radios, some of them might come with a programming cable where you can jack it into your computer or your laptop, run some kind of update software to update either firmware, or if you want to use programming software, they sell little cables that'll plug into the radio and plug into your PC and allow you to program through the software that you purchase. So you want to keep that stuff in consideration as something you might want to do. Yes, you can manually program these radios, but I think you're going to have an easier time and a lot less problems if you're able to have a program that not only saves all of your entries for your different frequencies and all your settings for those frequencies, but somewhere you can take those, you can just pop it in the back end of your radio, upload the new data, reprograms the radio for you in a couple of seconds, and you're done. So keep that stuff in consideration. There's also accessory cables, like when I bought the antenna tuner, there's a specific cable for that antenna tuner to jack into the back of a specific little port on the back end of the 991 so that these two things can talk to each other. The bottom line is you must do your own research. Ask around at local hams in your area and get ideas. If you can meet in person, see what they're using and what they're doing, and see how they have see what they have for their setups. Ask questions. The only way you're going to learn this stuff, I can sit here and give you ideas on things. I can give you my opinions on things based on my research, but I'm not looking for some of these other radios. I've got the ones I want. So if your situation might be different, your interest in ham radio might be different. So you need to look at and consider what's out there and find the radio that's going to best suit your needs. That's the only way I can say this. You know, I can give you a heads up on certain things, kind of show you, introduce you to things that I consider based on reviews and recommendations, but you really need to do your own research. Well, that concludes this particular presentation. So I'd like to go back now to the kit.co and take a look at that. And if we go on to here, as you can see, we have all the radios here. And I started getting into a couple different power supplies. Now, with my Yaesu, my 991 Alpha, I bought the Diamond GZV 4000 power supply. This is one that they recommended from Ham Radio Outlet. It's been a fantastic power supply. It's easy to use. I mean, it basically has only 2 buttons. Turn it on and you dial it into the amount of voltage you want to power your unit and just leave it alone. It does 5 to 15 volts and up to 40 amps continuous switching power. It has a speaker in it for some reason. 120 volts AC, so it just plugs into the wall. You take your lead wires out of your radio and plug it in the back of these things and screw them in and turn it on and then turn on your radio. Great little unit. Wasn't that expensive, but I like a lot of Diamond products. I got Diamond antennas everywhere for my HTs. I just bought another one for my my Yaesu 991. So this is a great power supply for you to consider and check out. Now, I've heard from other people out there. I did more research outside of my own personal bubble of interest here, because I want to give you guys variety. The next one here is the Astron RS35M AP linear power supply. This has been highly recommended. A lot of hams have these things, using them on the ICOMs, using them everywhere. It's just a very tried and true, excellent quality, excellent build quality power supply. Keep that in consideration. Click on the link there and read about it. Type it into Google and see what other people are saying about it. There's lots of things. QRZ has a forum. There's, talk to people in your ham radio club. You mentioned the Astron RS35M. People's eyes perk up. It's a really, really good power supply. The next one here, I don't know a whole lot about, but it did come as a recommendation from a lot of people that I read from my research on the web. And that's the Yaesu FP1030A DC power supply. This is also a linear power supply, 13.8 volts and 30 amps peak current and 24 amps continuous. This one looks like it's got little bells and whistles and stuff on there. It's probably a really good one. I didn't do a whole lot of research on it because I know the other two are tried and true based on either my experience or what I've seen from people in the ham radio community. So that concludes that. But again, you're going to have to go out and find what power supply fits your budget, is going to power your radio. Give you optimum power. You don't want to buy something that underpowers your radio that can screw your radio up. So maybe buy a little more than you need. Make sure you can adjust everything on it. That is the power supply suggestions I'm giving. There's a lot more out there. You have MFJ makes power supplies. I mean, everybody that's in ham radio makes a power supply. Find what you need. These are just my suggestions that for something that I think would be reliable and keep you from spending too much money on them. The next is the antenna tuner that I purchased, which is the LDG AT200 Pro 2. It does 5 to 250 watt at 1.8 to 54 megahertz. and it's an automatic antenna tuner. This one came very highly recommended, again, from people I spoke to online, people I spoke to on the phone at different HRO and Gigaparts. They all kept saying the same thing. The LDG AT200 Pro, actually they recommended the 100 Pro, which goes up to 100 watts. But I want something that I can grow into in case I change down the road, need more power, or need anything else. I want to have something that'll handle that. So I went ahead and just bought the 200 Pro that I can grow into later on. And I think I paid around $235 for this one. And the AT100 Pro runs, I think, about $199. So for $40 extra, you're getting double the power abilities with this antenna tuner. Below that, down here on the left, is the LDG Y-ACC accessory cable. This is the cable I was talking to you about that fits in the back of this, that goes into and allows you to plug it in directly into the Yaesu. It's built for the Yaesu 991. So the next thing here is the Daiwa CN901V SWR meter. Again, I did some research. I was talking to the guys over HRO, so I was interested in getting an SWR meter to measure SWR. And I was looking at, there's so many choices out there of things to get. And everybody's got an opinion. They have digital ones that I think are probably a little more accurate. This is a cross needle. So it does a cross needle kind of thing to kind of show you what your SWR is. And it does 140 to 525 megahertz, cross needle, and 200 watts. And has SO239 connector on the back for your antenna to go into. This is the one that they recommended to me. I haven't gotten it yet because I don't really, I'm kind of on the fence. And like I told you guys, you don't have to have an SWR meter. And there's so many other choices out there of things to get. Plus they have the antenna analyzers now that have those built in. So you really got to just decide what's going to work for you. I think this one ran about $200 something, I think is what it was. Wasn't overly expensive, but the guys that I talked to about it, they said that they really enjoyed theirs. It's the only thing that they use. They've had it for years and blah, blah, blah. But I'm kind of on the fence because I don't really think I need one right now. I am starting to get into antenna building. So for that, I probably just go with an antenna analyzers, like the little handheld ones I can bring out into the field and make all my changes to the antenna right there at the point. But, it's something you might want to consider. So that pretty much concludes all the stuff that attaches to the radio for different various reasons and things. What I want to go into now, and this is where it kind of gets opinionated, is antennas. Again, you have to decide what antenna is going to work for your situation specifically. Now, I wanted something that I could use that would be an all-band type antenna. Unfortunately, I have not found one that does everything from HF to VHF, UHF. You pretty much have to have separate antennas for that anyway, especially with my radio, because it has two different connectors for those things. So I've got a couple different antennas that I'm using. The first one here is the Chameleon MPass 2.0, which is the one right here in the backpack. This one runs about $550. The only issue with this one right now is that if you order it today, you won't get it for about 30 days. They're back ordered right now. A lot of people are buying them. What's cool about it is it comes with this backpack. Everything fits in the backpack. You can take it out into the field with anywhere you want to go, set it up in about 10 minutes, run the wire, and run the cable back to your radio, and you're on the air. This does 160 meters down to up to 6 meters. Come highly recommended. I wouldn't have spent that kind of money on something like this unless I thought it would, because I looked at a whole different one. I looked at Wolf River coils. I looked at DX Commander, looked at all these different ones. I wanted something that had versatility, something I can put up and take down if I had to, something I can move, that can pack and move with me. And this thing standing up, when you have it fully set up and everything, if you have it in your backyard or anywhere, maybe somewhere in your front yard, hide it behind a tree or something like that, it looks like a fishing pole. Honestly, it looks like a fishing pole. So it's not going to attract a whole lot of attention to you or get you yelled at by your HOA. So this is my main pick for a versatile HF antenna. Again, but there are lots of other choices out there. You can run, I'm going to show you some some dipole antennas here. But this is something that I thought would be the best bang for the buck for me. And it fit what I'm trying to do with my ham radio hobby. Okay, the next one is the Diamond X30A 2 meter to 70 centimeter antenna. I've got this one also. This is actually This is actually this antenna right here. And it's a relatively small antenna. I think it only comes up to like 54. Yeah, it's 54 inches tall. And this antenna, like all the other Diamonds, is highly recommended. Very reliable. The only caveat, there's little tines right. Let me see if I can get it here. These little tines right here. What he told me when I bought it, he goes, well, make sure you have this thing all set up on your house first, then put those little tines into it as your last things. He said a lot of ham radio guys are breaking these things off and snapping them off. They're kind of fragile. Well, I got it over here and I looked at it, and the tines are, I don't know, they're about a quarter inch. They're about a quarter inch thick. They're solid steel. So unless you really just fumble over yourself and fall on this thing, or you start jacking with it, really in a really weird way, you're probably not going to break these things. Still be careful because it's, it's $75 antenna, but it's a really good antenna. And if it performs anything like the antenna I had before, this thing's going to be really, really hot for my setup. Okay, so the next one here is the Radio Waves DX80. And this one is sold by Gigaparts. This is a dipole antenna. I'm just going to go ahead and click on the link here. Okay, so this is $94. This is a dipole antenna. And this will do coverage of ranges of 80 meter, 40 meter, 20 meter, and 10 meter. This came highly recommended. It's rated for up to 1,500 watts single sideband and PEP 200 watts on CW. Copper steel clad, insulated, 4-in-1 Balun. And it says here, this will work with 80 meter, 40 meter, 20 meter, and 10 meter without a tuner. The short-sided wire on this, which I guess is over here, is 44 feet long, and the long side is 92 feet. So this is what I was saying about how you've got to really decide what you want to do with antennas, because if you get into some of these things, if you don't have the space to run, what's this, 132 feet wide total of wire, but you're hanging it up in a tree or putting up somewhere where it's out of the way. If you don't have that kind of space, this might not be the antenna for you, which is again why I went with the Chameleon, because I was able to get all these channels, and I have a couple different. I think there's 6 configurations on the Chameleon to set it up. You can set it up as an inverted V. You can set it up as an L shape. There's all kinds of different ways you can set this thing up to tune into different channels on it. So I like the versatility of that, which is why I chose that. But this one here is a very good antenna to get if you have the space for it, and if these are the channels you want to operate on. The final one, and this is kind of cool. You could use it for a home antenna, but it's not waterproof. It's really made to be wound up, thrown into a backpack, and with all your radio gear, and going up on a mountain somewhere and setting it up there and doing your broadcast from up there. And that'd be the Pactenna Mini 9-to-1 Unan random wire dipole antenna. This one here, let me go and check it out here for you. I don't think they don't give a whole lot of information on it. This thing's not really that big. It's probably about like that, I'd say. Probably about that big total. But they're very highly recommended by people who have them. They say they love them. It's a great little radio, or great little antenna. Sorry, I'm getting mixed up here. $89.95 for this. I do believe they are available. I think they're back ordered right now, but this one supposedly will do a lot of different frequencies, and it does come with 29 feet of 26 AUG copper-clad steel wire, and that's to spread it out, and is rated to handle up to 100 watts. Again, like I said, this is mainly for people doing summits on the air or SOTA activations. Or if you're doing camping and backpacking and traveling out in the woods, you want to bring your radio with you, this would be a great item to have out there to throw up into a tree. They come highly recommended, and I wanted to throw it on here. It's not necessarily something you want to have as a full-time antenna for your home, because again, it's not waterproof. It's got that little jacket around it, so it's really made for temporary use, then rolling it back up and throwing it back in your pack. But I wanted to give you guys a couple different options here to look at and consider. So that reaches the end of it, guys. This is basically my choices. Let me just go back to my main cam here. We're done here. And by the way, you can find us. The links will be down below. You'll be able to find all the links to this down below to the kit.co. Also, don't forget that we do have a website, and that is hamradiofornontechies.com. Real quick, I want to say, if you guys like this video and you found it informative, give me a thumbs up. That will help the YouTube algorithm show my video to more ham radio people or anybody who might be interested in getting into ham radio and don't quite know where to go. Also, if you like this video and you like my channel here, I would ask you to subscribe and click on the little bell so you can be notified of any time I do new videos and, you know, join in on the conversation. I like hearing from people. I've been trying to answer everybody's comments, either from email or from the Facebook page or from the comments down below. If you have any suggestions or comments of things if you have any comments about the equipment that I chose here, comment down below in the video. I'd love to hear what you have to say or what your opinions or thoughts are. I want open conversation on this channel, and I want us all to be able to learn and grow from each other as much as possible. Now, if you're brand new and don't know, again, this goes back to, like I said before, ask questions, do some research. There's tons of information online. I've got a lot on the hamradiofornontechies.com website, and I'm constantly adding more stuff. The last video I showed you guys, I added some more stuff on the acronyms and different words that are used in ham radio, and I got a whole section on that now, and also including a section on the different frequencies based on what level of ham radio operator you are, technician, general, or extra. So keep this stuff in mind. Watch the, do your research on the stuff that I'm showing you, and make the best decision based on what you're able to do and what you want to do. Base stations are a little bit more of an investment. And you're looking at, on the average, about $1,000 up to $5,000, $6,000 for one of these things. The ones I gave you, I try to keep them all under $2,000. I believe they're all under $2,000, and some are right around $1,000 mark. I'm not trying to presume what you can or can't spend, but I want to give you the best bang for the buck and make sure the stuff that I am reporting to you or recommending is reliable. So I think I've accomplished that. Again, with antennas, you've got a lot of stuff to choose from. You got a lot of choices. You can even go out and build your own antennas, which that can be a lot of fun. I've just started getting into that. It's got its own frustrations, but I'm really enjoying playing with the stuff, and is, gets me out in the workshop building more things. So with that, guys, I think that's the end of this for now. I'm really glad. I appreciate you joining me on this 3-step journey for the different radios that I suggest. I'm not going to be doing a whole lot more of these down the road. I'll do a couple product reviews of things if something comes in. If another sponsor of the show sends something over to me to review, I'll play with it for a while, get my honest opinion on it, and bring that back to you guys in the form of a video. But unless something really fantastic comes out there that catches my eye, I'm not going to try to make this entirely a channel about doing product reviews. If you have a product you want me to check out and see what I think about it, put it down in the comments or email me. Join the Facebook group. I really want to get a discussion going on the Facebook group here, because I started that thing so we could all start discussing and get to know each other and help each other out. If you took your test and the information on some of my first videos about how to study for your ham test helped you pass your test, jump on that Facebook page, like and join, and put down a comment on there. Let's get your call sign out there. Let's hear. I want to hear from you. Other people in the community that are on that Facebook page want to hear from you. So utilize the resources I've given to you, and I'll keep adding more and more stuff as time goes by. But for right now, like I said, that is my top picks for ham radio base stations. I really hope you found this helpful, and I hope you found it informative. Do your research. And until next time, guys, I will see you soon. Thank you for watching.